again. I'm not doing that voice ever again. Okay. You go back there, little pal. Yeah. So, today, I got the best book ever, which is, and you might be able to tell which book it is by the fact that I have Nightmare Freddy right here, Foxy right here, a Five Nights at Freddy's pendant here, and I'm holding the book in my hand, which is inverted on your screen. Wait, I think it is. I'm not sure if it's gonna be inverted on your screen, but it says on mine, Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm trying to read it inverted for some reason, but Five Nights at Freddy's, The Twisted Ones by Scott Coffin and Kira Breed Risley. So I just got this book today. I got to like page 15, which shows that I newly got it. I like only read to page 15, and this here's just one page alone. Hold on. Here's just like one page alone, like a whole chunk of dialogue in this page. Look at that. This is a massive, massive book. So I'm going to be attempting to read this entire book. Well, not in this one video, but at least chapter 1 or maybe halfway through chapter 1. Or I might just read to page 15, like I did earlier. I might just read a page. I'm just gonna read to page 15. So yeah, this is not my only Five Nights book I got. I have the Silver Eyes, but it's over here. The Silver Eyes, and I am a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan. So this is just perfect in every possible. Can't speak. This is just perfect in every way possible. So that's Nightmare. And this is the back of the description. So I'm going to read the description first. So, yeah. This is the book I will be reading to page 15 this video, because page 15 seems like a reasonable page to stop at. Right? Is it? Okay, so we're going to stop at that. So, let's start with the description. From the creator of the horror video game sensation Five Nights at Freddy's and the #1 New York Times bestseller The Silver Eyes. It's been a year since the horrific events at FreddyFazbear'sPizza, and Charlie is just trying to move on. Even with the excitement of a new school and a fresh start, she's still haunted by nightmares of a masked murderer and 4 gruesome animatronic puppets. Charlie thinks her ordeal is over, but when a series of bodies is discovered near her school, bearing wounds that are disturbingly familiar, she finds herself drawn back into the world of her father's frightening creations. Something twisted is hunting Charlie, and this time, if it finds her, it's not letting her go. And then there's a funny picture of Nightmare! Okay, so we're gonna start at the very beginning, and excuse me if my voice sounds terrible while reading, if it sounds like a robot, because I'm reading. Maybe later I could make it better and upgrade the voice, but right now, this is what I'll be doing. Also, if you hear any scuttering of feet in the background, that's either my dog running around the house, or something else. That's actually kind of frightening. Anyways, let's begin at chapter 1. Don't trust your eyes. Dr. Treadwell walked back and forth across the platform at the front of the auditorium. Her steps were slow and even, almost hypnotic. Your eyes deceive you every day, filling in the blanks for you in a world of sensory overload. That sounded weird to say. An image of dizzying geometric detail lit up the canvas screen behind her. When I say sensory overload, I mean that quite literally. At every moment, your senses are receiving far more information than they can process, all at once, and your mind is forced to choose which signals to pay attention to. It does that based on your experiences and your expectation of what is normal. The things we are familiar with are the things we can, for the most part, ignore. We see this most easily with olfactory fatigue. Your nose ceases to perceive a smell when you've been around it for a while. You may be quite thankful for this phenomenon, depending on the habits of your roommate. The class tittered dutifully. I can't speak. Then became quiet as the image of another multicolored design flashed onto the screen. The professor gave a hint of a smile and continued. Your mind creates motion when there is none. It fills in colors and trajectories based on what you've seen before and calculates what you should be seeing now. Another image flashed onto the overhead screen. If your mind didn't do this, then simply walking outside and see a tree would consume all your mental energy, leaving no resource to do anything else. In order for you to function in the world, your mind fills in the spaces of that tree with its own leaves and branches. 100 pencils scribble all at once, filling the lecture hall with a sound with like scurrying mice. It's why when you enter a house for the first time, you experience a moment of dizziness. Your mind is taking in more than usual. It's drawing a floor plan, creating a palette of colors, and saving an inventory of images to draw on later. By the way, I'm moving my hand a lot. That's just a thing I do when I'm reading books. I do that. It's what I do, okay? Don't judge me. I lost where I was. Inventory images to draw on later. So, you don't have to go through that exhausting intake every single time. The next time you enter the same house, you'll already know where you are. Charlie! An urgent voice whispered her name inches from her ear. Charlie kept writing. She was staring straight ahead at the display at the front of the lecture hall. As Dr. Dreadwall went on, she paced faster, occasionally flinging an arm toward the screen to illustrate her point. Her words seemed to be falling behind as her mind raced on ahead. Charlie had realized by the second day of classes that her professor sometimes broke off in the middle of one sentence, only to finish an entirely different one. It was like she skimmed the text in her head, reading out a few words here and there. Most of the students in her robotics class found it maddening, but Charlie liked it. It made the lesson kind of like doing a puzzle. The screen flashed again, displaying an assortment of mechanical parts and a diagram of an eye. This is what you must recreate. Dr. Treadwell stepped back from the image, turning to look at it with the class. Basic artificial intelligence is all about sensory control. You won't be dealing with a mind that can filter these things out for itself. You must design the programs that recognize basic shapes, while discarding unimportant information. You must do for your robot what your own mind does for you. Create a simplified and organized assembly of information based on what's relevant. Let's start by looking at some examples of basic shape recognition. Charlie! Hissed the voice again, and she waved her pencil impatiently at the figure peering over her head. Her friend, Artie, trying to shoo him away. The gesture cost her a moment, but her half a step behind the professor. She hurried to catch up, anxious not to miss a single line. The paper in front of her was covered in formulas, notes in the margins, sketches, and diagrams. She wanted to get everything down all at once. Not just the math, but all the things it made her think of. If she could tie the new facts to things she already knew, she'd retain it much more easily. She felt hungry for it, alert, watching for new tidbits of information, like a dog under the dinner table. A boy near the front raised his hand to ask a question, and Charlie felt a brief flare of impatience. Now the whole class would have to stop while Treadwell went back to explain a simple concept. Charlie let her mind wander, sketching absently in the margins of the notebook. John would be here in... She glanced restlessly at her watch. An hour. I told him someday we'll see each other again. I guess it's someday. He had called out of the blue. I'm just going to be passing through, he said, and Charlie hadn't bothered to ask how he knew where she was, or, of course, he would know. There was no reason not to meet him, and she found herself alternately excited and filled with dread. Now, as she absently sketched rectangular forms along the bottom of her notebook paper, her stomach jumped, a little spasm of nerves. It felt like a lifetime since she last saw him. Sometimes it felt like she'd seen him yesterday, as if the last year hadn't passed. So, firstly, pause for a second. I'm going to be doing this sometimes when I see important things in the book. So, last year in The Silver Ice was 1995. 3 years after the events of Final Phase 1. This takes place 4 years after that. The more you know. Yeah. Anyways, let's continue. But of course it had, and everything had changed for Charlie once again. That May, the night of her 18th birthday, the dreams had begun. Charlie was long accustomed to nightmares, the worst moments of her past forced up like bile into twisted versions of memories already too terrible to recall. Anything as twisted as this? No? Okay. Just wondering. Because this is nightmare. This is not a twisted animatronic. This is nightmare. Not a twisted animatronic. If you met this thing, it's not twisted. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. She shoved these dreams in the back of her mind in mourning, and sealed them away, knowing they would only breach it when night fell again. These dreams were different. When she woke up, she was physically exhausted, not just drained, but sore, her muscles weak. Furthermore, proving that these don't seem to be nightmares. Similar to how Sister Location proved that all of Final Phase 4 might actually have happened. Thanks, Scott. Love you. Okay. Dang it, Scott. Her hands were stiff and aching, like they'd been clenched into fists for hours. These new dreams didn't come every night, But when they did, they interrupted her regular nightmares and took them over. It didn't matter if she was running and screaming for her life, or wandering aimlessly through a dull mishmash of the various places she'd been all week. Suddenly, from nowhere, she would sense him. Sammy, her lost twin brother, was near. She knew he was present. Actually, fun fact, Sammy really never appeared as a ghost in Silver Eyes. I hope I get to see him in this book. I really do. And I hope he's not evil, because that would really make me hate the character of Sammy. Please, don't please. Please make him like Golden Freddy. Please make him like Michael. Please. Okay, where was I again? She knew he was present the same way she knew that she was present. And whatever the dream was, it dropped away. People, places, lights, and sound. Now she was searching for him in the darkness, calling his name. He never answered. She would drop to her hands and knees, feeling her way through the dark, letting his presence guide her until she came to a barrier. It was smooth and cold metal. She couldn't see it, but she hit it hard with one fist and it echoed. Sammy? She would call, hitting harder. She stood, reaching up to see if she could scale the slick surface, but it stretched up far above her head. She beat her fists against the barricade until they hurt. She screamed her brother's name until her throat was raw, until she fell to the floor and leaned on the solid metal, pressing her cheek to its cool, that's not cold, that's cool, surface, and hopping and hoping for a whisper from the other side. He was there. She knew it, as surely as he were a part of herself. She knew in those dreams that he was present. Worse, when she was awake, she knew he was not there. In August, Charlie and Aunt Jen had their first fight. They'd always been too distant to really argue. Charlie never felt the need to rebel because Jen provided no real authority. And Jen never took anything Charlie did personally. Never tried to stop her from doing anything as long as she was safe. The day Charlie moved in with her at the age of 7, Aunt Jen had told her plainly that she was not a replacement for Charlie's parents. By now, Charlie was old enough to understand. I look up for 1 second and I lose the page that I was on, even though understand that Jin had meant it as a gesture of respect, a way to reassure Charlie that her father wouldn't be forgotten, that she would always be as his child. But at the time, it seemed like an admonishment. Not expecting, don't expect parenting, don't expect love. And so, Charlie hadn't. Jin had never failed to care for Charlie. Charlie had never wanted for food or clothing, and Jin had taught her to cook, to take care of the house, to manage her money, and to fix her own car. I am going to stop there because I can see at the clock I've been recording for like 19 minutes and 23 seconds, and that's bothering me because I don't want to read 15 pages and it be over 30 minutes long. So I think I'm going to stop here at page 7-ish, the beginning of page 7, which, focus, camera focus, which is right there. So, how am I going to remember this? I won't! So, that was the first 7 pages, almost, first 6, I guess, of the Twisted Ones. I recommend you get the book. because it's really good, as far as I know so far. From the first 15 pages, it seems really good. And if the Silver Eyes has anything to say about that book, it will be good, definitely. And when has Scott let us down? Don't answer troll games, please don't. Don't. Anyways, if you like this video and want more people to see this video, click the like button, because that will raise the likelihood of people seeing this video. And if you want to see me read the Twisted Ones some more, then subscribe so you can get notified on whenever I make new videos. And if you want me to give me suggestions on what to do, then just put them in the comments section below. Anyways, this is Aurelius, signing out. Bye! Wait, nope, not bye yet.